they seek to reach all the corners of the earth.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for tuning in to this week's Roundup. Today we have some very interesting reports ready for you. In this week's Roundup, we'll be having a look at the latest updates on a variety of issues.
In today's episode, we'll be looking at the dangers behind mobile phones, starting a new series on foods in the Holy Qur'an, checking out another Islamic invention, and hearing about the Indonesian National Ijtema.
By now, hopefully you know the drill. Let's begin as usual by checking out this week's headlines.
After Liz Truss's resignation from office, Rishi Sunak was elected to become Britain's youngest Prime Minister in over 200 years and first leader of colour. On Tuesday, October 25th, Sunak, 42, was formally invited by the King to form a government.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has announced a national handgun freeze. According to reports, new regulations prohibit the sale, purchase, or transfer of handguns within Canada. Trudeau hopes restriction will aid in lowering gun-related homicide rates.
Members of the United Nations Security Council are drawing national attention to the humanitarian crisis in Haiti as the country grapples with criminal gangs and cholera. A coalition of gangs has prevented the distribution of diesel and gasoline for over a month. Most transport is halted, and over 4 million Haitians are facing acute food insecurity.
Last month, NASA launched a spacecraft that deliberately crashed into an asteroid, which successfully nudged the rock from its natural path into a faster orbit around a second larger asteroid. This is the first time humanity has altered the motion of a celestial body.
13 worshippers have been killed in an attack on Shah Cheragh, a Shiite shrine in Iran. The attack has incited more tension across the country as protests are still ongoing since the death of Mahsa Amini. Interior Minister Ahmad Vahidi blames protesters, saying they've paved the way for such terrorist attacks. Australia-based environmental artist Marina Debris, in her latest sculpture, portrays the power of one person in the planet's fight against marine pollution. The art was showcased at Sydney Beach exhibition. Over 100 pieces are on display along the 2-kilometer coastal walk between Sydney's Bondi Beach and Tamarama.
Jazakallah for the headlines.
Wait, Nasir, do you have your phone on you right now?
Of course I do. Everyone does.
Well, have you ever wondered the dangers behind having a mobile phone?
Not really.
Well, maybe you should check out this segment we've got in store for you.
Lots of children my age have a smartphone, but what age should you really have one? Let's see what some parents have to say.
For me it's 10 and it's about when they walk home from school on their own. I think that's going to be the time that I think about it.
Well, my daughter's 6, she wants one now, but I think she's a long way off. I think maybe 12 or 13.
I think secondary school is a really good age, because I think at that point children are starting to be more independent. They're starting to perhaps go to and from school on their own, and it's useful for them for safety.
I suppose no one age. I think some kids at 15 shouldn't have a phone. I think some kids at 10 could have a phone, depending on circumstance. It's more complicated probably than ever, and what you allow them to use.
The average age for a child in the UK to get their phone is just 11, and 10% of 6-year-olds already have one. That's almost as young as my brother. It might seem like you can't live without phones in this interconnected world, but what did people do before phones?
Probably played with my toys, or did some art, did some painting, or some craft.
Oh, you write letters. Much better. Letters to friends and stuff like that. Or just go and see people, talk to them.
I think kids just played and did stuff outside rather than look at their phones, so I think the longer we can stop them doing that, the better.
Did you know Bill Gates didn't let his children have a phone until they were 14? And the founder of Apple, not this Apple, didn't let his children have the iPad he helped create. If these big tech gurus don't let their kids use all these gadgets, then there must be a good reason. Let's see what guidance our beloved Hazur has given us about this.
जो साइंसदान और डॉक्टर है ये भी कहते हैं कि बच्चों की नज़रें ख़राब होती हैं, उनकी सोचों पे असर पड़ता है, इसलिए बच्चों को इंटरनेट और गेमों पे और टीवी पे 1 घंटे से ज़्यादा 24 घंटे में नहीं बैठने देना चाहिए। उनको बताएं, उनको समझाएं कि तुम्हारी नज़र ख़राब हो जाएगी, तुम्हारी सोचों पे फ़र्क पड़ेगा, इसलिए बेहतर है कि तुम किताबें पढ़ो उसकी जगह, जो ब्रेन की डेवलपमेंट के लिए ज़्यादा बेहतर है। आई डोंट से दैट यू शुड नॉट प्ले मोबाइल गेम्स। देयर आर क्वाइट अ नंबर ऑफ गेम्स which can help you increase your knowledge. And there are some games which are just wastage of money. You just get addicted to those games. You should not waste your time. Spend most of the time in reading instead of getting addicted yourself into the bad games, right?
In my school, almost everyone has a phone. We needed to call our parents and stay in touch with our friends. But with the internet, it's really risky as there is a lot of harmful content online. Too much screen time is also linked to obesity, sleep problems, depression, anxiety, and worse results at school. When I grow up, I want to be an author, which means I need really good grades. So I'll be looking more at books than my phone.
Jazakallah for that report, Ayela. We are so fortunate to hear Hazur's guidance every week in his Friday sermon.
That's right. Let's go now to Islamabad for a summary of the recent Friday sermon.
Assalamu alaikum, my dear brothers and sisters. During this week's Friday sermon, Hazur began his sermon by saying that he would continue highlighting incidents from the life of Hazrat Abu Bakr radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Did you know that Hazrat Abu Bakr radhiyallahu anhu was the first person outside the family of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to accept Islam? During this week's sermon, beloved Hazur, Ayela Ta'ala bin Nasr al-Aziz, mentioned the great friendship of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Hazrat Abu Bakr. Hazur said that while still living in Makkah, the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would visit the home of Hazrat Abu Bakr radhiyallahu anhu 1 or 2 times a day. Once when asked, who among the men was most dear to the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he replied, saying Hazrat Abu Bakr. On another occasion, the Holy Prophet ﷺ said that Hazrat Abu Bakr was the best among people, except if there was a prophet. Hazur Ayela Ta'ala bin Nasr al-Aziz said that during his final illness, the Holy Prophet ﷺ said that no one had been kinder to him than Hazrat Abu Bakr. If he could have made anyone his Khalil, friend, then it would be Hazrat Abu Bakr. Beloved Hazur narrated the close friendship of Hazrat Abu Bakr further and said that when the Holy Prophet ﷺ would sit with the companions, no one would look directly at him. However, Hazrat Abu Bakr radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu and Hazrat Umar radhiyallahu anhu would look at him, and the Holy Prophet ﷺ would look at them and smile. During this week's sermon, Hazur said that the Holy Prophet ﷺ is narrated to have stated that every prophet has 2 governors in the heavens and 2 on the earth. He said that his 2 governors in the heavens were Gabriel and Mikael, and his 2 governors on earth were Hazrat Abu Bakr and Hazrat Umar. Hazur Ayela Ta'ala bin Nasr al-Aziz said that there are 10 people known as the Ashara Mubashara who were given the news of paradise by the Holy Prophet ﷺ. Among them was Hazrat Abu Bakr. Hazur said that although these people were very close to the Holy Prophet ﷺ, they were not the only ones to be given this good news of paradise. In fact, there are about 25 companions regarding whom this glad news was given. Then there are also those who took part in the Battle of Badr and the oath of allegiance at Badr as one, who were also all given this promise. Beloved Hazur Ayela Ta'ala bin Nasr al-Aziz said that the Holy Prophet once said that Gabriel showed him the door through which his people would enter paradise. Upon hearing this, Hazrat Abu Bakr radhiyallahu anhu said that he wished that he had been there so that he too could see this door. The Holy Prophet ﷺ replied that Hazrat Abu Bakr would be the first to enter through that door. Beloved Hazur Ayela Ta'ala bin Nasr al-Aziz said that he would continue narrating these incidents in the future. Dear brothers and sisters, this was just a very brief summary of last week's Friday sermon, which was filled with many interesting stories and incidents. We hope you're able to hear the full sermon, which can be found on mta.tv. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah for that summary.
Now it's time for a new series on the different foods mentioned in the Holy Qur'an.
For our first segment, let's start with honey.
It's Winnie the Pooh's favourite treat. It's sweet, it's sticky, and it's all produced by a very intelligent insect, one of the most sophisticated in the animal kingdom. Welcome to the first segment of Foods from the Holy Qur'an. Today, we will be learning about a very common item, one that you probably use to sweeten your tea: honey. Did you know, by the grace of Allah, we even have our own bee farm in Hadiqat al-Mahdi?
So this is Jalsa, jungle side. No one's ever been here before, apart from the beekeeper and the guys that maintain the land. You don't know that Oakland's farm is slap bang in the middle of the South Down National Park. So we have obligation as custodians of this land to do something interesting. And one interesting thing we've done, with the blessings of Khalifa, he gave us permission to put beehives on this land. And obviously in Islam we love honey. We talk about it in the Quran, and you know, there's a big interest.
But you can't just keep bees anywhere. You have to have the right conditions to grow a colony.
As you see, we've got a 200-acre farm here, beautiful thistles and hedgerow, no pesticides here. And these bees will fly up to 3 miles from this location.
Within this 3-mile radius, the bees search for nectar from flowers to make honey. They take the nectar and pack it away in hexagon-shaped beeswax honey cells. The design of the honeycomb and constant fanning of the bees' wings causes evaporation, creating sweet liquid honey.
We've got about 20 beehives here and about 10 over there. And so as a natural function of beekeeping, a community will start off in a smaller box called a nucleus colony, and then will grow. So there'll be a lot of bees in there. Might be 30,000 bees or 20,000 bees in there. You know, at this moment, in the height of summer, there'll be lots of bees. But in the winter, the communities collapse down. In the summer, the bees will last 6 weeks. They'll generate loads. The queen will be busy generating bees because they've got so much work to do.
On average, a hive will produce about 25 kilograms of extra honey each year. Therefore, it is essential for beekeepers to harvest it by collecting the honeycomb frames and scraping off the wax cap that bees make to seal off honey in each cell. Once the caps are removed, the frames are placed in an extractor, a centrifuge that spins the frames, forcing honey out of the comb. After the honey is extracted, it's strained to remove any remaining wax and other particles. After straining, it's time to bottle, label, and bring it to you. All this work that bees do to make honey isn't just to sweeten our tea. There are many hidden health benefits that come with it. Honey has had a role in healing and medicine for mankind throughout the ages, as the Egyptians, Greeks, Romans, and Muslims used honey for curing various ailments and also medicine to cure infections, heal wounds, and better digestion. So, before you take a spoonful of honey, just remember that there is more than just meets the tongue.
Jazakallah for that interesting report. Honey really is such a healthy and beneficial food for us all.
Now it's time for another episode in our ongoing series of Islamic Inventions. Let's find out what this week's invention is.
I don't know about you, but I wouldn't get anywhere on time without my watch. It's one of the greatest inventions in the world, capturing time. We continue our Islamic Inventions series by looking at the history of clocks and how Muslim inventors put their stamp on this technology. The idea of clocks itself predates Islam. Sundials were widely used in ancient times. The Egyptians and Babylonians had water clocks, but they weren't considered very precise devices. Muslim inventors took the idea of clocks to a whole new level, innovating existing concepts to create new time devices. A number of inventors over the centuries are credited with key improvements to the concept of clocks. Ibn al-Haytham first created a clock that provided hours and minutes with his Bingham water clock in the 10th century. Ibn Khalaf al-Muraddi in Islamic Iberia created the first geared clock in the 11th century. It may have been the first usage of mercury within a clock. The famous inventor al-Jazari in the 12th century created several historic clocks, including the castle clock, which allowed observers to see the sun's disk on the eastern horizon rise. He also created the 800-year-old elephant clock in the 13th century. The clock celebrates diversity with Greek water-raising technology, an Indian elephant, Egyptian phoenix, Arabian figures, and Chinese dragons. Still, before the 16th century, clocks were considered too inaccurate to measure celestial movement. It was then that Taqi al-Din built an astronomical clock that managed to measure time to great accuracy. He designed 3 dials which showed hours, degrees, and minutes. His clock indicated prayer timings and the first day of the Gregorian months using dials. Many of his clock's details are still present to this day. Clocks and timekeeping are considered to be one of the most significant developments of Muslim civilization. Scholars and inventors spent centuries carrying out detailed mathematical analysis and constructing intricate clocks. This may have been motivated by the importance of time measurements for Muslims, whether it is the need to determine the times of daily prayers or the start and end of fasting. Needless to say, we wouldn't get anywhere on time if Muslim inventors hadn't spent their lifetimes meticulously researching and inventing how to tell the time. I'm actually running late now, so until next time, Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah for that report. Clocks are such an incredible and unique invention, and I never knew they were invented by a Muslim. Now it's time to take a plane over to Indonesia and check out their national Ijtema.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Kalian pasti penasaran kan, kenapa suasana saat ini sedang rame? Dan kenapa saya memakai jaket dan bawa ransel? Itu karena saya dan teman-teman Atfal lainnya ingin berangkat ke Ijtima Nasional Khuddam Atfal Indonesia. Alhamdulillah, setelah pandemi berakhir, Khuddam dan Atfal Indonesia kembali mengadakan Ijtima. Mau tahu gimana keseruannya? Yuk ikut bareng saya. Tahun ini Ijtima Khuddam dan Atfal dilaksanakan pada tanggal 23 sampai 25 September 2022 di Puncak Punceling, Bandung, Jawa Barat. Ya, sekitar 5 sampai 6 jam perjalanan dari markas deh. Karena berada di gunung, lokasi Ijtima punya pemandangan alam yang indah loh. Udaranya juga sejuk. Untungnya di sini juga ada sumber air hangatnya. Jadi kita nggak terlalu kedinginan. Alhamdulillah, setelah menempuh perjalanan berjam-jam, akhirnya kami sampai di lokasi Ijtima. Sekarang saya mau siap-siap dulu nih untuk ngikutin acara pembukaannya. Sesi pembukaan Ijtima dilaksanakan Jumat pagi. Setelah itu, baru deh Ijtima dimulai. Selama 3 hari, banyak banget loh kegiatan yang bisa kita lakukan di Ijtima. Misalnya saja, sholat berjamaah, menyimak khutbah Jumat Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Al-Hamis, dan ikut berbagai macam perlombaan. Ada lomba rohani seperti lomba menghafal surah-surah Al-Qur'an dan lomba azan. Ada juga lomba jasmani seperti tarik tambang, panahan, dan adu bantal. Saya juga ikutan lomba buat atfal loh. Seru banget. Hihihi. Ijtima itu apa sih, Pak? Dan tujuan Ijtima itu apa, Pak?
Ijtima itu pertemuan tahunan. Kalau di jemaat ada pertemuan tahunan seperti jalsah ya kan. Kalau di badan-badan itu juga ada pertemuan namanya Ijtima. Tujuan daripada Ijtima itu mempelajari nilai-nilai Islam dan mengimplementasikannya.
Alhamdulillah, seneng banget ikutan Ijtima. Karena ini adalah Ijtima nasional pertama sejak pandemi. Makanya gak heran banyak yang kangen untuk mengikuti Ijtima. Apa sih yang paling seru saat mengikuti Ijtima tahun ini?
Yang paling seru menurut saya itu mengikuti lomba-lomba dan sholat tahajud bersama teman-teman.
Mengikuti lomba rohani seperti azan, nazem, dan lomba jasmani seperti estafet karet, dan lain-lain.
Itu dia acara Ijtema Khuddam dan Atfal Indonesia. Semoga kita semua bisa ikutan Ijtema lagi ya. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Jazakallah for that. But unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. But don't forget to join us next time where we have more interesting reports from around the world. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum.
Oh, I shall call, oh, I shall call, I shall call, oh, I shall call, I shall call. Thy message to reach all the corners of the earth. Oh, I shall call, oh, I shall call, I shall call, oh, I shall call, I shall call. Thy message to reach all the corners of the earth.